Hey guys, it's Jake with some surviving the bathtub moments here. So we're going to discuss today, not going to be discussion, I'm just going to talk to you. The rumored cast, by now pretty much confirmed, for Survivor 38. There is a coach's twist, according to both Redmond and some earlier leaks on the Survivor subreddit and some other sites, that there will be 4 returning players in addition to the 16 players that will make up the Survivor 38 cast. And those 4 players are Aubrey Bracco, Kelly Wentworth, Joe Englem, and David Wright. And people have been asking me, what are your thoughts, Jake? Because, you know, they come to me because I'm the master of all things Survivor and surviving my bathtub. And they say, Jake, what are your thoughts about it? So here are my thoughts about it. First of all, you've got 3 players who are known for their strategic acumen rather than their physical acumen, and 1 player who's not known so much for their strategic acumen. Sorry, Joe Englem stands, but he's a hot piece of Survivor Butte, but he's not known for his strategic acumen. So automatically you start thinking, okay, what was the point behind this? We want to find 4 people who are, or who were really popular and gripping in their seasons, but for different reasons. Now that's interesting because while Joe was super popular with the fans, the so-called casual fans, I'm not so sure that the other 3, if we go back to that time and look at the posts, were as popular as Joe was. They were very popular online. So there's this interesting dichotomy between Joe, who's not as popular online and through the, super fan, super strategist community, whereas Aubrey, more so, Kelly, more so, Yas, Queen, Stans, and Aubrey's got her own of that group too. And then David Wright. Also interesting is the fact that you have now 3 3-time players and 1 2-time player. So that dynamic is going to be interesting. All in all, this is a really interesting choice for the Survivor production team because you're having people from kind of all levels of fandom and all levels of just popularity and strength. But the one unifying factor is recency bias. These are all players that have played within the last 3 or so years. They're all players that have played from season 29 on. Okay, so we didn't delve back into the realm. So obviously we're not going for people that super fans are going to only remember. Somebody like Shane, who is, well, obviously didn't want to come back, but we didn't go back into that realm. We didn't go for people that were unused second chancers. We didn't go to somebody like Sabrina, or we didn't go back to like a the sun will come out tomorrow. Why am I drawing a blank? You guys know who I'm talking about. But we didn't go back that far, and so it's a really interesting kind of situation where we are at with this cast. Now, the other interesting fact is going to be the breakdown of the cast, because we don't know yet, it's not confirmed whether there's going to be 4 teams of 5, which sounds cool, but is probably unlikely, or 2 teams of 10, which is more likely. If it's 4 teams of 5, here's what's going to be interesting about that. If it's 4 teams of 5, you're going to have 1 team that has Joe Englem on it, and 1 team that's represented by a captain of like Aubrey or David, who, no shade to them, and can hold a candle, but in their original season were not known for being challenge strengths. So you're going to have teams anchored, in a sense, by people who are not as physically known for being those Goliaths as somebody like Joe Englem, which automatically makes me think it's not going to happen, that they're going to be team captains of the 4. Now, if that happens, it's going to be very interesting, and it might provide a real kind of one-sided situation where the Joe Englem team is constantly winning immunity. They're going to have to stack it in a way to put maybe more nerdy members of the cast with Joe Englem, which might even it out, but doesn't bode well for somebody who they consider a fan favorite in the beginning. And I don't see that happening because of that. And we know how production, I'm not saying necessarily interferes, but likes to put their more popular players in typically better positions like that, and I don't see them throwing Joe Anglim on a team stacked with nerds that are going to want Joe Anglim out of the game early on. So I just don't see that happening, which means the other option for them is to have 2 teams of 10, which, while still interesting, I believe and I predict isn't going to make for the best situation for those returning players. Why? Because when you put one returning player on a smaller team, not only do you tend to look to that player more because you're in a more vulnerable position, being only one of 5 people that can be voted out, but also that player seems to be more of a strength in pulling off of their combined multi-season background. So I don't see that happening. If you're in a team that has 2 returning players each, those returning players, I believe, are more of a target. It's easier to say 8 on 2 and to look at them as more of a threat and at least pick off one of them than it would be if there was only one. I know it's kind of counterintuitive. You think strength in numbers, but I don't think that a Kelly Wentworth is going to survive a lot better, and I may be totally wrong, come at me when I am, than a player that is in a position on 1 against 4. So I don't think it bodes well for the returnees, which means I'm going to predict it's going to work out a little bit more like Philippines, where the returnees aren't taken with everything they say is taken with a bit of a grain of salt. While they're known to be great players, I don't think they're going to be in a position socially where they're going to have a lot of influence per se. And I don't think these players are such god tier players like a Boston Rob or Sari that they're going to have unlimited influence upon the players that they are in with. Now, we saw that happen with Coach, where we didn't think going in, we said, I remember at the time, what the is going on with bringing Coach back. He's not going to do well at all, and ends up running the game in South Pacific. So could be totally wrong, but it's going to be interesting, one, to see if this is the first time ever that in a returnee mixed season, the returnee hasn't, at least one, made the final tribal council, or if it's going to be just a wash, and I'm going to be totally wrong, and the returnees are going to team up, and it's going to be cannon fodder. We don't know a lot about the rest of the cast in order to make those kind of predictions at this point, but that has been Surviving the Bathtub. I hope you've had a good time, and don't come at me so hard for forgetting the obvious Survivor Africa player that I completely have blanked on because this is my first video, so...